Good morning. Welcome everyone to the November 1st Sunday service of the Unitarian Universalist Church of St. Petersburg, a congregation that seeks spiritual growth without dogma, drawing on our own experience and on the wisdom of the world's traditions. Blessings to you on this Sabbath. With All Souls Day coming tomorrow, may we honor that day by recognizing the inherent worth of all beings in this great universe of being. My name is Jack, pastor of our caring congregation. Thanks to Allison, John, and James for contributing to the service this morning in word, music, and in production, and to all of you for joining together to celebrate the coming week. Today, at this anciently celebrated time of All Saints and All Souls, may we grow in our ability to bless one another and to bless our troubled nation and world. May we contribute an ever-growing understanding, caring, and community of joy to our troubled world. Just a few quick announcements as we say hello and get settled this morning. First, check our website and our newsletter to keep up to date on activities at the church or to learn more about us if you are new. Also, feel free to text or email me if you would like to talk about something or to arrange a meeting at the church. We can meet on our portico, which is in the fresh air, under cover. Remember, it's never too late to join our small groups, covenant groups we call them, groups of 10 or so people meeting usually monthly, right now mainly via Zoom, to share about how life is going and to support one another in that. This coming Saturday, November 7th, is our monthly church waving campaign, which will include collecting cans of soup for our neighbors in need. If you would like to be one of the wavers that drives around through the neighborhoods to selected homes of members and gives a cheery wave, or if you would like to be visited and contribute a can of soup, please let Sabina know. Details will be in InfoNet so that you can pursue that. And lastly, at our Friday night picnic for people without the blessing and convenience of a home, we feed a very large number of people. We offer not only food, but clothing. But it so happens that we get much more clothing than we need for women and not nearly enough of what we need for the men. So men, try to remember to bring things, pants especially and shorts especially, down on Friday night at 6 o'clock to give to our group that is providing the food and the clothing, or if it's more convenient, drop the clothing off at the office at some time where Kathy is present or I am present. And now let us begin with our opening hymn.
May nothing evil cross this door, and may ill fortune never pry about these windows. May the roar and rain go by. By faith made strong, the rafters will withstand the battering of the storm. This hearth, though all the world grow chill, will keep you warm. With laughter drown the raucous shout, and though these sheltering walls are thin, may they be strong to keep hate out and hold. love thee.
Good to be with you this morning. I am Allison Donovan, and I'm happy to be participating in this morning's worship. We will now light our chalice as a symbol of our search for truth, our shared communion, and our growth in understanding and caring. Join now, if you will, in the words of our covenant. Love is the spirit of this church, and service its law. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another. Our invocation for today is a blend of a Jewish prayer and words from Unitarian Universalist minister Mark Morrison Reed. Together, let us celebrate the calling of our religious community to unveil the bonds that bind each up to all, to recognize our relationships amidst the particulars, to live with kindness, to act for justice, to be assured that we do not struggle alone. For alone our vision is too narrow to see all that must be seen, our strength too limited to do all that must be done. Together, may our graciousness become courage and caring, indivisible by color or religion, indivisible by gender or sexuality, indivisible by personality or species, indivisible by rights or privilege. Together, let us celebrate the calling of our religious community. And now a brief word about joys and concerns. If you have a particular personal joy or concern to share today, please type it in the comment column on the right of your YouTube screen. Or you might want to share it during our coffee hour check-in after this service. And of course, you are always welcome to send joys or concerns to Pastor Jack for sharing aloud at next Sunday's service. Our first reading is from the Gospel of Mark, chapter 5. To continue teaching, Jesus crossed the lake with his disciples, 8 miles from Galilee to Gennesaret. When he stepped out of the boat, a man came running and bowed before him. The man was demon-possessed, naked and wild, cast out from the town and living among the tombs of the dead. For neither people nor chains could restrain him, as he went howling and cutting himself with stones. Jesus commanded, "Come out of the man, you demons!" And from the man came a loud yell, "What have you to do with me, Jesus, Son of the Most High? I beg you, by God, do not torment me." Then Jesus asked, "What is your name?" And the reply came, "My name is Legion, for we are many." And the demons within the man begged to remain present in a great herd of 2,000 pigs feeding nearby. And Jesus permitted it, and immediately the possessed herd stampeded down a great bank into the lake and drowned. And the news spread, and the fearful townfolk came to see, and sitting with Jesus was the possessed man, who is now clothed and in his right mind, asking to go with Jesus. But Jesus asked him to stay in the region and to let the people know what God has done, and his story amazed them. Our second reading is from Daring Democracy by Francis Moore Lapay and Adam Eichen. Every journey begins with a step. So grab a notebook, write down one act that you pledge to take for democracy. Include a deadline, and then share it with your family and your friends. Every day seems to bring yet more worrisome, frightening news, putting millions on the edge of despair. At the same time, we've come to see that despair itself is ultimately our only enemy, and we've become even more clear that there's an effective antidote, meaningful action that we can take together. But we realize that to take action, and more, to join with others you do not know, requires courage. So we may come to see that the opposite of evil is no longer goodness. It is courage. Goodness without action isn't good enough.
Does Halloween feel more ominous this year to you? More damaged from the recent past, more threatening to the near future? It's important to assess and plan based on these feelings. And now is an essential time to do it. Who will help us foresee the future, and who will help us plan for it? Who are you going to call? As I understand it, Halloween in ancient times was the fall festival to start the new year, with visitors bringing hearth-renewing embers from the sun-renewing hilltop bonfires the people had lit. Well-treated visitors they were, who may have been village children in disguise, or they may have been ancestors from beyond the temporal veil. Whatever threats the new year's piercing winter and uncertain harvest would bring, appeal was made to these visitors from within the pale but beyond the veil to bless the community's endeavors. As the household's old ashes were swept from the hearth, remembrances from both ancestors and the past year of shortfalls and successes were shared for their lessons. What had worked? What hadn't? Then from the hearth fire's new flames, prophecies for the coming year were read, and alternative paths and commitments were made to family and to community, so that both family and community could continue well. Maybe there's a reason our elections coincide with Halloween, All Hallows Day, and All Souls Day. Times for drawing from our past, prophesying possible futures, choosing a path of hope amidst uncertain threats. This is politics, the working out of relationship with self, with others, with community and world. And it is also spirituality, orienting our beings in hope of blessings for ourselves and our posterity. So as we approach Election Day, which above all is a day of judgment, can we call on political, spiritual lessons from our ancestors so that we might live in safety and happiness? The first lesson from the ancients, of course, is that there is always work to do in every season, regardless of any other circumstance. Building silos and stables or repairing them, caring for our critters, helping our community, preserving the richness of our land, keeping the home fires burning. No election outcome can change that. But some outcomes, natural or spiritual, can be destructive of living as we know it. I think most extremely of the mass extinction with the last ice age 12,000 years ago, dramatically shrinking the global human population and lots of other populations. Or the massive melting when that ice age ended, flooding villages on the old coast of Florida beneath 300 feet of Gulf waters. Or other disasters and catastrophes like human enslavement, or the bubonic plague, or Hiroshima. How did anybody survive? The sciences actually provide pretty solid answers. For one, people amongst people who identified individual well-being with the group's well-being fared best. Two, for a long time, when Earth's peoples identified with the divine as female, emphasis on the bond of nurturance rather than a theocracy of dominance enhanced trust, trade, and wisdom amongst peoples. Third, that whatever the technology, wars for supremacy devastate peoples on all sides. And perhaps fourth, and most recently, the understanding that the survivalist reptilian part of our brain, often characterized through the ages as demonic, can orient its great energies. We can orient its great energies to promote thriving in the common good. Recall the ancient gospel story you just heard of the demon-oppressed man. How did Jesus turn that despairing outcast into a messenger of healing and hope? Strategic psychology, or pastoral care, if you will. First, he gave recognition to the man's own healing power by asking him to diagnose his own problem. Quickly done. It was a multitude of oppressive forces driving him to shelter. Most definitive of those political times, it was an oppressive legion, a militarized government draining the health out of the people's economic, social, and spiritual lives. There was no place in a passively corroding community for a sane person other than in the realm of the dead, either insanity or the cemetery, or both. Both perfect disguises for safety and for numbing oneself against the attacks on the soul. Second, Jesus gave the man full attention. He empowered him to say what it was he really needed. Well, first he needed removal of the Roman legion, it turned out. If the herd of pigs was being raised by a kosher people for a legion of oppressors, then let the legion occupy the pigs and occupy themselves with the pigs and drive them into the depths and be washed away. Sometimes if you refuse to feed an evil force, it diminishes in strength. That's why strikes work, and unions, and solidarity. And freed from occupation, you can seek your own purposes and restore your sanity and your humanity. Go with Jesus? No. Go yourself directly to your people and let them know what can be done. Tell how the gracious power of the universe can heal the soul and grow the spirit despite anti-life forces pressing in. No matter your primary concern these days, environment, justice, equity, these treasures will all be lost to the oligarchs for as long as we do not claim democracy and live by it. Has our centuries-old democracy been just oligarchy in disguise all this time? For some generations, yes. For some, no. There have been generations that have seen justice, equity, and compassion grow in our society, that have seen acceptance of one another dissolve divisions, have seen encouragement yield spiritual growth. And there have been generations that have seen slippage, that have seen greed disguised as right bleed away the common good. But as many of our forebears have done, we can name the pathology that causes our disorder. Is it not any force that divides people, destroys life-sustaining environment, subjugates one below another? Just to name the pathology is to start getting well and onto a path that we can share with others. We regain health and self by remembering who we are. Do you remember? And by choosing to work toward well-being. Have you known well-being? How long ago? From all the history of yourself, your family, your community, and your world, remember grief transcended, fear transcended, misfortune transcended. Remember strength pursued, pride pursued, joy pursued, and won. You may not be interested in proclaiming that God has done this work as Jesus advised the man. Instead, you can demonstrate to yourself and the world that the power of the universe, call it energy, truth, grace, Brahman, Dharma, Yahweh, being of beings, God, source. That power is yours to use. And you must be willing to use it. You must, as Francis Moore Lappé wrote, empower goodness with courage if you are to be healed and blessed, and if you are to help heal the world and bless it. Because goodness without action is not good enough. In the end, as many have found, feeling power flowing through you to empower the world is the best of all feelings for everybody. So call it forth. It is what democracy feels like. Now, James with a brief offering.
To keep our congregation thriving, may we remember our connection to one another. And let us not forget our offerings to support the means to those connections. As you listen to the offering music, please click on the I in the upper right-hand corner of your screen to make a contribution. You can also donate by the Give Plus app or on our webpage under the Giving tab, or by sending a check to the church office. Many thanks.
Before we close, just an idea for families to share perhaps at the dinner table for a little table talk, as they say, about Halloween and trick or treat. How about a discussion about who has treated your family with blessings and the people in your family, who has treated them well so as to bless their lives? What lessons can you learn from the people who have been kind or helpful to your family and to each of you? That might be a worthwhile conversation as a table talk. How to bless and how to be blessed. It's a trick-or-treat question if you think about it. Really, it might be the only question. And now, as we prepare to extinguish our chalice and abide a moment with wonderful music from John's One City Chorus. Let me suggest that you start your day throughout this momentous week asking yourself, how can I bless and be blessed? And end your day asking, how did I do? And how blessed was I by the world around me? May your week be full of revelations, insights, and epiphanies. May your relationships be full of caring for all souls. May loving kindness be your way. Namaste, shalom, and thank you for being together today. Please join us for the coffee hour if you have time.
And now, as our service ends with a breath, we pass the flame of our chalice lamp to each other as we say our closing words together. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of love, or the fire of courage. These we carry in our hearts and out into the world.
Way back when they said, oh men, they meant every wealthy European male.
Way back then, to vote required being white and being rich and being male. They said, you can't vote
if you don't own property.
You can't vote
if you're not free.
You can't vote if you are a woman, 'cause you've got no stake in democracy.
Year by year, people had to ponder what the Declaration must have meant. By all men, clearly it was time for an electoral adjustment. And they won the vote for those who had no property, won the vote for those who lived free, won the vote for women in America. They wrote it down, it was guaranteed. They all said, it's my vote, you can't deny it. My voice can't take it away. My right, I won't be quiet. It's my vote, my voice, my right. My vote, my voice, my right.
Well, a right's a right, but without a fight it can evaporate and float away.
And by night, there were those who came around and tried to take the vote away. Saying,
You can't vote.
You haven't paid the poll tax.
You can't vote.
You can't pass the exam.
You can't vote.
For fear of retribution, and the people stood up and said,
Well, damn, it's my vote. You can't deny it. My voice can't take it away. My right, I won't be quiet. It's my vote, my voice, my right. My vote, my voice, my right. So, my friends, get to know your candidates and register and rock the vote. And beware, always in the shadows there are those who want to block the vote. Saying you can't vote, you registered improperly. You can't vote, the lines are too long. You can't vote, the machine isn't working right. You can't vote, you've been purged from the rolls. Say you're gonna use it, say you'll never lose it. And if they ask you whose it is, just say it's my vote. My voice, my right. My vote, my voice, my right. My vote, my voice, my right. It's my vote, you can't deny it. My voice can't take it away. My right, I won't be quiet. I won't be quiet. I won't be quiet. It's my vote, my vote, my voice, my voice, my right. My right.